lot of people think they're going to make money really fast, but you really have to learn that you have to, in life, simplify. Not only does it cost money, but it costs time.
Yeah.
Time with your mentors. And so that's a big lesson, especially for hairdressers.
Everybody has to start somewhere, and it's in those entry-level positions, those starting somewheres, that you usually learn the most. You need to prove your worth. You need to prove your intentions before people are willing to invest more in you.
If you're making it your own vision, staying in your mission, it'll be successful. Perfection should never be something you strive for. Progress. And the only way to get progress is through practice.
Right.
So don't be lazy.
Welcome back to the Boss Too Hard podcast, where we dive deep into the turbulent ways of entrepreneurship. We've all been there where we've met someone who's got this really great idea. They have this concept that things are going to go just as planned, and we have to be the bearers of bad news that they might want to pump the brakes and hold their horses. Today's guest is Stephanie Allen. She has had an incredible, beautiful, wonderful career within the cosmetology industry. She owns her own salon and has seen the ups and downs of not only the industry, but what she's experienced in building her own career, her own business. Stephanie, welcome to the Boss Too Hard podcast. I'm really excited to have this conversation.
I am too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. By the way, my beautiful hair is courtesy of Steph Allen Studios.
Steph Allen hairstylist.
Steph Allen hairstylist. She's in Sanford, Florida. She's amazing. What's interesting is I have a lot of friends who have gone the hairstylist route, have gone the cosmetology route. And I think everybody thinks starting out that they're going to get their license and then they're going to go build their own business. And that in that short amount of time is kind of a pipe dream. It takes so much more than that. And I know you've put a lot of time and effort into growing and knowing and developing your craft. What has that looked like?
Okay. So when you say that, the first thing I thought about was working in a restaurant. Service, right?
Yeah.
I'm in a service industry. And so I started off working as a hostess in a restaurant. And I noticed in fine dining, which is something I love, is that in most fine dining, you need to be the host. And then you can be a server maybe, or like a dishwasher to the host, to the busser, to the grand job, which is, being with people. And so I took that experience, especially bartending and things like that. I love people. That's why I started hairdressing. And I knew I wasn't great at the hair. It wasn't I started hairdressing because I was great at hair.
Yeah.
It was because I love people. And so I was like, I could just talk to people all day, have great discounts on beauty because I love beauty, like spa and all that.
Yeah.
And I worked as a receptionist at a hair salon at a young age. So doing that and restaurant, I was kind of seeing the interconnections of the two and where I could serve a good purpose in the industry. So when I finally got my license, which was years later, I had worked for a cosmetology school for 7 years. So in the cosmetology school, it was kind of like grooming and prepping me for being behind the chair. I got a lot of hands-off, behind the scenes experience. And I was getting people excited to start cosmetology school, but I wasn't doing it myself yet, but I was really excited to. So once I finally started, I was really grounded in what the industry looked like, what people's struggles are, seeing people finish school, but never really successfully becoming hairdressers because your expectations versus reality kind of happen. A lot of people think they're going to make money really fast, but you really have to learn that you have to, in life, simplify.
Yeah.
So I worked at the school making X amount of dollars, which was really good, living on my own. And then when I graduated from the school and I left that job where I made money to making minimum wage back when it was $10 an hour, from that job, I had to move in with a roommate and make my rent go from $800 a month to $300 a month. So that helped me a lot because I had to pivot, knowing that for the next 2 years, I'm going to assist in a high-end salon and learn and grow in that space. And that's what I did. And I worked there for 10 years as a commission stylist.
Yeah.
So that was like the beginning of it for me. You have to pace yourself, have mentors.
Yeah.
Treat their business as if it's your own. And then from there, those are the keys that teach you how to be an entrepreneur. So if you work for someone else with the mindset that this person can teach me to be an entrepreneur, if that's the goal,
right,
then hang on to that and invest yourself. Not only does it cost money, but it costs time.
Yeah.
Time with your mentors. And so that's a big lesson, especially for hairdressers. Don't think you're going to come out, charge an X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
Because my favorite cutting specialist teacher told me, it is not 1,200 hours that's going to make you a good hair cutter. It's 12,000 haircuts.
Yeah.
And that was huge for me. I was like, oh, yeah, I know nothing. And going into it, I know nothing. Like being willing to say, just because I've done this doesn't mean I know everything. And just because I've done this doesn't mean I'll never know everything. And I think your education and educating yourself also brings you to that point.
So that's why I kind of wanted to start with that, because you and I have had some really, we've had some really beautiful conversations.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, saying I didn't know you worked in fine dining. And so it totally makes sense the other day when you told me if I cook, it's either something really easy or it's like fine dining. Totally makes sense now. But there's this, whether you're going to school, you're in a trade, whatever it may be, it's this reality that experience is what makes you, right? We can all read a book. We can all think we know concepts, but it's completely different when you actually go to apply it. I think we're both aligned in the idea that you can get an education and you can do a lot of different things, but without the actual experience backing it, it's not valuable. Mm-hmm. And now you can get educated through experience, but you don't necessarily get educated and get experience. Mm-hmm.
The first thing that comes to mind to that point is America thinks that you need a bachelor's degree to walk into any interview. And nothing irritates me more, because I would rather have somebody who has spent years working at a job that relates to what I'm hiring than somebody who's never worked at all, but has devoted 4 years into a bachelor's degree that may or may not be related to the task at hand. And it's like you can't even get a call back. And that, I don't speak for myself because I haven't sought after those jobs. Yeah. I stayed in my lane. But the fact of the matter is we don't value trade and people being just talented with hands-on experience versus, higher education.
Yeah. It's great to be book smart. It's great to go to college. But there are a lot of people out there right now that have a lot of education. They can't find jobs because they don't have any experience. And unfortunately, I share an office with Dawn. So I hear a lot of what's going on, like from hiring and what the job market looks like. And we talk about it a lot. Like, even if you are pivoting into a new industry, if you're starting out in an industry, the willingness to simply absorb and learn, whatever that looks like. There's nothing wrong with an entry-level position. Everybody has to start somewhere. And it's in those entry-level positions, those starting somewheres, that you usually learn the most.
100%. And that to me is being humble, being willing to learn, and just being grateful for having a foot in the door. Here's my opportunity, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to be the best dang whatever the heck you want me to be. And then I want to move on from there.
Yeah.
I've never not gotten a job from a job interview, because every time I've ever interviewed anywhere, it's because I absolutely wanted to work there.
Yeah.
And it showed.
And we'll even move into a good mentor, right? Mm-hmm. We'll hire for attitude and train for skill. You can't teach somebody to be driven and teach them to want to learn.
Amen.
Like you will chase your tail and you will get frustrated with them for not, like, you can't want it more than them.
No.
And I think that's a situation a lot of people get into.
Yeah, for sure.
You've brought on your first mentee.
Well, she starts in January.
Yeah. And so that's one of the things that you've talked about with bringing her on. There's a lot to that, but is this ability for her to experience this beautiful exchange, both you and her, where yes, she is getting paid, she is learning, she is starting somewhere, but she's also learning so much from you and somebody who's been a master in the craft. And so was there a situation in your journey where someone did that for you?
There's been so many situations where people I surround myself with have given me so much opportunity, who I say, I want to help. I want to do whatever I need to do to be in this room with you. And they absolutely say yes. So yes. And that is why I hire on excitement.
Yeah.
And so that's a big lesson I've learned is like when you show that your initiative is there and you're like ready to do it with whatever it is, even if it's the non-sexiest part of the job, but you're doing it with bells on, you are going to move forward with that company or whatever it is. You're going to do well with that.
It's kind of controversial, and I think everybody will feel a little bit differently about it.
I'm good with that.
But I don't care where you work, you do the job before you're paid for it. Like I think people think like, oh, well, I'll take on more work or I'll do more when you pay me more. But the reality is you almost have to, in most cases, you need to prove your worth. You need to prove your intentions before people are willing to invest more in you.
I'll never pay you more if you don't do the most.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you are just giving 10%, well, you're probably going to get paid 10%.
Yeah.
And again, if you have a job that you're not super passionate and in love with, maybe look to finding something that lights you up more.
I think a lot of people are out here looking to just get paid. And it sucks because the world is hard right now. Things are expensive. Life is expensive. You can have a vision. You can have stages like, I'm going to do this for this long, but while I'm doing this, I'm going to also pursue this that fills my cup, or I'm going to look for something better. But to just kind of accept things as it is and, oh, I'm just going to show up.
Yeah.
Like no one ever got anywhere by simply showing up.
And I think we may be in a mentality now that you only need one job to survive. Like, I worked, when I moved to Orlando in 2006, I made $8 an hour at the front desk of a cosmetology school, and I worked 40 hours a week. I was in their skincare program from 5 to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday, 20 hours a week. And on the weekends, I worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I actually did an Excel spreadsheet of my time. I was out of my apartment for 75 hours a week.
Oh my God.
And when you're aware of where you're investing your money and your time, you will not go hungry. And that's always been my philosophy. So if I have to do what I have to do, I was young. I was 23 years old. Let's go. You know?
Yeah.
You have to be hungry if you want to eat.
Yeah.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah.
I might be controversial.
So I like controversial. I don't think I ever felt so connected to someone when you were talking to me about, like I work in the salon this many days. I take this day off. And work, like that's every day.
Work
like
is
there's
every day.
Always something to do in my business. I'm excited to be here. I was like, oh my God, I feel so seen.
Yeah. Like, so the running joke is I actually do hair Tuesday through Friday, but I work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I spend time with my family Saturdays and Sundays, but I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, 7 days a week. I walk my dog. I drink coffee alone. And I'm planning and dreaming and executing.
Yeah.
And that's my time to do my CEO job.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's exhausting. Life has been exhausting since I was in the workforce because I work so hard.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
when did you decide, like in your journey, right? Because you were in a salon that you loved.
Mm-hmm.
At what point did you realize it was like, okay, this is the moment. It's time to step out.
Yeah. It was screaming at me. My intuition,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one piece of advice I could give you is if your intuition is telling you something and it's telling you more than one time, just listen. Listen if you can the first time. But I had given some options because I really love the people that I worked for all those years. And I had a lot of responsibility there aside from just being a hairdresser. And so I had given them options for me to continue to work with them, but not necessarily just for them. So I offered a really big like growth opportunity for us all, but they were unable to do that, which is fine, right? We can't all do those things, but I put it out there.
Right.
And it wasn't possible. And this sounds so crazy. I was through 2 or 3 months from my 10-year anniversary. And the 10-year anniversary, they do this really big thing for you. They make a really big deal. And I didn't want to wait until after that anniversary, knowing that I was leaving. With the opportunity that I presented to them that they couldn't do, I just went ahead and did it. I lasted 3 days, this thing that I did. And then I had to pivot because it did not work out. And I went down the street from that spot, that salon space. And I met this woman and I ended up renting a chair from her. I was like, hi, I need a chair like tomorrow. And she's like, oh, and we had a lot in common and we sat and talked for like an hour and a half. But it was either I could go back to where I was after I'd already committed to leaving or stay at a place that I'm like, why did I do this move? Like this was not the move.
Yeah.
But I was safe in knowing that my clients were still on the books. Like they followed me because it's scary as a hairdresser to leave a space where you've built a whole business and then you go somewhere else and it's a little further out of the way for them.
Yeah.
But they were committed. I was committed. I made the pivot. And now I went from being a commissioned salon employee to renting a chair in someone else's salon.
Yeah.
And that same day I went to her, I said, now, just so you know, I'm looking for my own space. And she was like, cool, I respect that. Because she was growing her salon in a different way than what I was going to be doing anyway. So it all just kind of worked out.
How long were you there with her?
1.5 years.
So what did you learn from her while you were there?
A lot. It was so fun working with her because she had just really opened this salon the year before and she was by herself and she was growing this business. And so I'm watching her build this commission team and I'm like, oh, this is hard, like personalities and like all these things. So I was like, okay, note to self, do I really want to own a big salon? So as I was looking for my own salon space, because my biggest dream is to live in my bubble. I'm a bubble person. I don't want to drive more than 5 miles a day.
Yeah.
To me, that's being rich.
Yeah.
Is rich in time. Money is great, but my time is everything.
Yeah.
I love that. So when I was looking for a space, I was looking bigger. But then when I found the space that I'm in, it felt like a dream. Like, oh my gosh, there's water, these giant windows. Like it was checking all these boxes. It was way in my price range. And I'm like, let's go. Like, don't show anyone else. And working with Angela helped me learn, not that I didn't want to have what she has, because she's a terrific salon owner. All three of the people that I've worked under as owners, because my first salon, it was a partnership. I have learned the most valuable things just about service, business, and what it takes to run one.
Yeah.
And how hard it is, but also if you're in alignment with yourself, if you're doing it the way that you want it to be, if you're making it your own vision, your own, staying in your mission, it'll be successful.
I think that the best lessons that I've learned are from being in community with other entrepreneurs, watching people who have built before me what they've gone through, being able to ask questions.
Yeah.
There is no value. There's nothing more valuable in my business right now than my community.
Yeah.
Because, just like you said, just being able to know what you want, what you don't want, seeing other people's failures, being a safe space to ask questions, like there is no price on that type of education.
I agree. With that, sometimes people think they have to go spend hundreds of dollars on education that is necessarily right in front of your face.
Yeah.
Like those relationships with those owners, asking questions, having the conversations. We still talk on the phone.
Yeah.
We still share what's going on in our business. I'm trying to build community with other hairstylists now where we can just come and sit and gather and plan and dream and execute things that provide service to our community. My whole business model is based off of community.
Energy exchange, when it's healthy, is so incredibly valuable. And there's this misconception that time is money. And yes, time is money. But if there's someone that you want to gain information from, like you mentioned earlier, just ask, be interested, be curious. How to win friends and influence people. But people love to talk about themselves. People love to talk about what they've accomplished. And so even though it may feel weird for you, earlier today I talked about sometimes having to force yourself into rooms that you don't think you belong in. But being willing to, so you can ask the questions, so you can learn.
Absolutely.
It feels very vulnerable. But many of us, I don't have, $10,000 to be in Jasmine Star's masterclass.
It's not 10,000. It's way more.
Is it really?
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
think.
Okay.
I've checked into it. I would love to.
Right. I know. You asked me, did you see her masterclass? Yes, I did.
The mastermind. I know.
Yes.
I would love to be.
The mastermind.
Yeah.
Jasmine Star, if you're listening to this podcast, we'd love to offer you to be a guest on the podcast in exchange for an opportunity to be in your mastermind. I think it would be a wonderful trade.
Definitely.
No, but I think that we underestimate the power of the ask.
Yeah, for sure.
Because when you're willing to play an active role and be of value, and to them, their knowledge is what of value to you.
Yeah.
And to them, your time is what's of value to them. So if you're doing a little bit of, you're going to help them with one thing, and while you're doing that, they're pouring into you, like that's a beautiful exchange of energy, and it's valuable to both of you. But when I think it becomes very unhealthy and people get turned off from mentoring and things like that, when the mentee isn't really sucking it up, they aren't appreciating it, they aren't taking it seriously. And so if for someone who is coming in your space and they're wanting to get to that next level, like what suggestions do you have for them?
Remember that you don't know everything. That's the number one thing for, especially in my industry, is there will always be a time that you're going to do a redo on hair. And, bobby pins do fall, like perfection should never be something you strive for.
Yeah.
Progress. And the only way to get progress is through practice.
Right.
So don't be lazy. Practice.
Yeah.
It's like asking questions. That's an action. Pulling out a mannequin head. That's an action. Calling friends and family to say, hey, I would love to do your hair. That's an action. Creating social media, even though it feels uncomfortable for you, it's an action. If you don't actively do something, nothing will happen.
Right.
So are we here for action, or are we here to just collect an hourly pay?
Yeah.
And be bored?
Yeah.
And lose all passion?
Yeah.
We got to do something.
Right. So you did something over these past few months that's new and that's exciting. And I've seen you grow and build, and furniture is moving. You are moving beyond just creating community within your industry. You're building something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, I can't just stay in one lane. I'm just always thinking ahead. Like, I'm 40 years old. I don't want to be behind the chair 4 days a week forever.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to constantly be pivoting yourself and like thinking ahead of the game.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of work to stand and talk, hold space, make somebody's hair look beautiful, all at the same time. It's a lot harder than people imagine it, I would believe. But I believe that I am good at coloring, cutting, and blow drying hair. And I'm really good at education. And I'm good at education in a lot of different ways. I'm a confidence builder. That's what I do behind the chair. I make people look and feel beautiful in conversation and with how their hair comes out. And I am an educator for my color line. So I get to meet with people at different salons and build their excitement and build their joy and build their confidence in themselves. So it's only natural that I have my own space to create that same energy.
Yeah.
And I know so many business women who I give ideas to all the time. We're just talking marketing. We're just shooting stuff around. I would love to have a space where we all can meet in community, be women or people.
Yeah.
I should say people. And share what our strengths are and share our weaknesses, and maybe we can help each other out.
Yeah.
So I'm starting in 2025 meetups in my space across the hall from the salon.
Yeah.
And it's just a place to connect. I'm doing one-on-one mentorships with hairstylists. I can curate classes of all kinds, whether it's hands-on or consultation, how to talk to people, how to prep appointments before they even come through the door so they know everything to expect from you. How to give a really good experience. I'm good at that. I'm good at just teaching people how to be excited about what they're doing and how we can all help each other out in the grand scheme of business. Because business and hair are the two things I love most.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm excited for this community, and I'm excited for us to collaborate.
Me too.
I'm really excited to hear more about this mentorship as it evolves. I think that in time and space, the people we're pouring into, we often learn and take something from that as well.
Always.
And it'll be cool.
Yeah.
To see that.
Thank you.
We operate in a way here where there's always a mic drop moment, right? We talk about a lot of things, and you may not have gotten to say that one thing. And so I want to give everybody their Thanos moment. And so I'm a boy mom. Love Marvel. And so Thanos, of course, he snaps his fingers and half the population just vanishes. No pain or anything, just vanish off the face of the earth. But of course, everybody notices when their loved ones disappear. But in this case, we are not killing half the population. You have an opportunity to snap your fingers. And when you snap your fingers, not only does everyone stop, but they hear you. They have to listen, because hearing and listening are two different things. And then they have to understand. What do you want them to know?
If you want to be successful at anything, you need to practice, invest time and money, and put yourself in places that make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. And don't be afraid. Take a breath. If it feels good in your gut, go for it.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in this week to the Boss Too Hard podcast. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I think we can officially coin a new term for all the entrepreneurs out there. Practice equals progress.
That's right.
Not perfection.
I live my life with that statement.
Yes. So if you're listening today, we want you to remember that practice equals progress and done is better than perfect.
100%.
Have a great week, and I will see you next time on the Boss Too Hard podcast.